We had in there, didn't we? The dollar hitting a 3-year low, stocks tumbling. Trump, of course, in his latest act on the finance front only, certainly ripping into the federal chair, Jerome Powell. And that has a major loser, apparently.
Right, he calls him a major loser, but he appointed him back in 2018. Yeah. It just said the whole world is rattled right now, and only one person can fix it. And I just don't know if he's ever going to be smart enough to turn around and go, well, if I do this, if I remove some of these tariffs, I think the market will go up. Because when he put that 90-day pause on it, everybody remembers that the market went up over 2,000 points. Mm-hmm. You know, the U.S. markets at least. And so right now the S&P went down 2.5 points.
Let's go check where we are now, actually. I haven't had a look today.
Yeah.
Actually up. It's early mid-morning, of course. The Dow 1.70, the Nasdaq 2.05, the S&P 500 1.37%, all up. UK and Spain, the only ones up across Europe, the DAX and the CAC 40 in France still getting hit.
Well, one of the things we were going to talk about today, because that's all true, is that how the global markets have really been shaken up by all of this. And, you know, Trump was calling this, there's going to be a new golden age for America and, you know, bringing every other country that invested along with them. But the tariffs have just been so disruptive. And what's happening is that companies are staying away from investing in the U.S.
They are, certainly.
People are staying away from traveling to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
People are
they've been warned not to come.
Yeah, yeah. And we looked at one of the stories we're going to run later is about travel, and the people who pay attention to those sort of things say that the impact on the travel industry just in the U.S. is going to be about $91 billion. That's a lot. Those are a lot of sandwiches there, you know. So it's going to get worse before it gets better, boys and girls.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah. And any given day, he can say something and it drops. It makes things drop even more. Gold's going well, however. I know you've got a vault full at home, so you're all right.
I do. Gold is going great. I wish I had a vault full of gold.
Right. Now, we're also been looking at developments in Ukraine and the fact that Donald Trump said he was getting rather frustrated and not concerned, but basically he was just going to say he was going to walk away from the situation if there wasn't some kind of proper ceasefire and truce soon. We've not seen any major developments on that, apart from the fact of a leak, and I don't think this one was from Hegseth, that the Trump administration is pushing for a peace deal that heavily favours Russia, as we suspected. It'll include a pause to the war along the existing 1,000-kilometre front line, recognition that Crimea belongs to Moscow, which of course it hasn't since it invaded it in 2014, and a veto on Ukraine's NATO membership. Also unconfirmed reports that the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station, which Russia seized in 2022, will be part of a neutral zone. But that's a leak, so we're not sure how much truth is in all of that. But quite often you get these leaks just to sort of soften the blow until they actually come with, this is what we're really saying.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that the UK and France keep up the pressure on the U.S. to do this. Otherwise, as Marco Rubio said, this is getting very frustrating, and we just may walk away from this. I can't. Excuse me.
What?
I don't see that happening. I think the pressure is going to continue. But something we were talking about before air was Putin and how disingenuous he is. He said to Russian state TV, "I have always talked about this, that we have a positive attitude toward any peace initiatives, and we hope that representatives of the Kyiv regime will feel the same way." What a bunch of horse hockey. I mean, seriously.
I was just going to say BS, but horse hockey does it.
Oh, please, to say that we've always been open to this sort of thing. But now
he thinks we're all as stupid as Trump. That's what happens.
He does. And so Trump went public this week saying he's not a fan of Zelensky's. He doesn't.
He did actually say again, didn't he, recently, that he shouldn't have started the war. Then he did actually backtrack in an interview when somebody challenged on. He admitted that Zelensky hadn't started the war. Yeah. Black's white in Trump world.
He'll pretty much say anything, won't he? But
there is that meeting tomorrow, of course, representatives from UK, the Ukraine, France, and the US meeting in London to continue talks about a potential ceasefire. So impatience with the lack of progress, Washington is saying. Hopefully, hopefully in the next few days we may well see a breakthrough. It's been a long time coming, but really we do want things to be sorted out.
Yeah, they do. But, in the meantime, a lot of drone strikes being launched.
Odessa overnight again. It's never ending. No. I mean, I don't know why anybody's even saying the word ceasefire, because it certainly didn't happen. Okay, let's move on. And of course, the other major news story across the planet is the death of Pope Francis, who leaves a legacy as a Catholic Church reformer, leader of the world's 1 billion Roman Catholics, addressed past scandals, embraced migrants, the poor and gay and lesbian faithful. Some wanted him to go further. Probably wasn't possible in his time. And he's recently had, let's say the Vatican had words with J.D. Vance, who happened to be in town.
Well, some would say that J.D. Vance killed him. That, it's pretty bad that Vance was the last dignitary that he talked to.
There is the meme with Vance standing there with a sickle, isn't there?
Oh, no.
There it is, yeah.
Oh, I've missed that. Oh, that sounds... Where do I get
I'll
that?
send it to you.
Okay, great. But, yeah, it's... That's certainly going to be the case. I think that what we're also hearing is that Trump had a conversation with President Meloni of Italy. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what the latest is, like in the past hour, whether or not he is going to come over for the.
He said he was. This was prior to them announcing that it was Saturday. So whether that has a diary conflict, I'm not sure. We'll see if we can find out about that. But I believe that he is.
Yeah. So there should be some discussion about economics and about Ukraine and about hopefully they'll get something done this time.
Meloni does seem to be the European leader that he's more partial to than others.
Yeah.
No the best way to put it, I think.
It doesn't hurt that she's...
There was a bit of a love-in going on in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and also it doesn't hurt that she's attractive and,
I wasn't going to go that far, but...
who knows what's in his brain.
Okay.
So, anyhow.
So it was only a couple of minutes, really, Vance had with the late Pope. And there were some other discussions, I think.
But it was not a pleasant discussion. I mean, the Pope made it very clear to him that he didn't like the direction that the U.S. was heading. He didn't really appreciate it. But as I understand from all reports, it was a very short meeting. It was
a couple of minutes.
Only a couple of minutes. And then the next morning, the Pope left us. So.
Where do we get to? A load of numbers involved in our chat this week. 50501. 50,501 protesters denouncing Trump's administration in nationwide rallies while supporting impacted communities. I wonder who counted up to one there.
Yeah, it's 50 protests, 50 states, one movement.
I see.
That's what
I get it.
That's where it goes. At least people are getting organized in the states and getting their acts together as far as protesting and that sort of thing. I have good feelings about that. I think that even in blue states, red states, ruby red states like Idaho, Montana, West Virginia, there were a lot of protests, a lot of people taking to the streets with some really clever signs. The big question is whether or not Trump or anybody in the administration is going to notice that and
do they care?
Yeah, do they care? We know things like this have happened during Vietnam, during the Nixon years of Watergate. I mean, there was a lot of that. But now I think we have a tone-deaf president. I don't think he's really going to care. It's not that I'm saying that they shouldn't do it. I'm saying don't be
surprised when they ignore you.
Right. Don't be surprised if they ignore you. I think they should continue as much as they possibly can. But this administration seems to be kind of tone-deaf.
There were some pretty good billboards, or not what do you call them? What are they called again? Billboards.
Signs. Protest signs.
Protest signs. Democracy is not a state, is an act. The power of the people is greater than the people in the power. No checks and balances, no American democracy, innocent until proven guilty. Real Americans protect the Constitution. The Trump fascist regime must go now, one of them read.
Well, a lot of the people, too, you're seeing a really wide swatch of people in that you're seeing a lot of younger people, but you're seeing a lot of older people because of the threat to Social Security, the threat to Medicaid and Medicare are real. I mean, the fact that, people could be you lose all their income, could lose their health care, is a genuine concern by these groups. And so, cuts to Social Security, and there's, Social Security, they've cut a lot of the people who work in the organization, and so a lot of people aren't getting their checks, and it's a real problem.
What's the significance of the upside-down flags there, then?
That the upside-down flag means it's a sign. It's a nautical sign. It's if you're on a ship and you are in distress, you hang your flag upside down.
I see.
Now
So there we go.
if you're ever out on the out on your yacht, which is a very nice yacht. I've seen it, your personal one. But if you're ever out and you need help, you hang your flag upside down. That's what it means. In distress.
Bought it off Roman Abramovich. You needed to get rid of some stuff.
There you go.
Right. Also, then, in stateside, 150 U.S. university presidents have signed a letter decrying the Trump administration. Is anybody for him at the moment? We don't seem to have any stories that say that. We need to be balanced here. Come on.
But Columbia University is one of the schools, and it's a everybody who lives in the U.S. knows what the Ivy League schools are. The cream of the crop, the absolute best. And that's arguably right. There are a lot of great.
Well, you hear about on TV in the States all the time, Harvard, Princeton, and Brown, don't you?
Yeah, Harvard, Princeton, Brown, Columbia, Cornell, and those schools. But Columbia has backed down and said, "Oh, it's okay. We'll sign your paper. We'll agree that there are no Palestinian organizations on campus, and we're not going to allow any protests and that sort of thing." And this is in a heavily Jewish community, and Columbia has quite a few Jewish students and Palestinian students, but I would say mostly Jewish students in this for this sake of this argument. But it looks like Harvard is fighting back. Harvard is now suing the U.S. government.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And they're not taking this lying down. And I think banding together with other universities, a lot of these are not just Ivy League schools, but they're small schools. They're Big Ten schools, which are like big public universities in the Midwest. They're all over the place.
But you have to ask yourself again: is it going to bother Mr. Trump? It's not, is it?
No, I don't think so. But I think you can get to the people who work in that area. I think you can. I think the idea of going to a university and saying you can't have people with different opinions here. You can't have Palestinians and Jews at the same time. It's just not right. That completely flies in the face of what a university is. I mean, it really does. And I think back to...
I mean, the right to protest, as long as things are done above board and on a level, then you would think that would or should continue, but not so.
Well, because of this anger, though, they're trying to withhold funds. They're trying to withhold, in the case of Harvard, $2.3 billion in funds, and those are research funds. They're not, so people can live in dormitories. They're research funds for the example of cancer and ophthalmology and all sorts.
So how can they sue? Has that money already been allocated? Has it come from a government body which has already said yes? Because we've seen this already where Trump's been challenged because he's overruled something that was previously
that's
agreed.
Right. That's right. So this has already been agreed to, and it usually takes an act of Congress for them to pull that money back.
Not a presidential decree.
Yeah, everybody goes, people who support Trump, they go, oh, well, look at him. He's being strong. He's not being strong. He's violating the law in doing that. And Harvard is the only school so far that's called him on that said, you don't get to pull back this money.
Well, it's been quite difficult for the courts to keep up. I mean, the pace he's been going at, and the courts obviously move a lot slower. There's just no time to do anything against some of the things that have been happening.
Well, that we've heard the term flooding the zone, meaning it coming up with so much nonsense like this that a university does not have the money should not be spending its money trying to defend itself against the government, because the government has pretty much unlimited resources. But it's this sort of nonsense. There's just so much of it that a university can't keep up.
Now, as usual, we had probably 3 times as many stories today than we can actually fit in, but this was one of our favourites, wasn't it? Boeing jet returning to the US from China, a victim of Trump's tariffs war, and they're sending the stuff back because they've become too expensive in the meantime.
I love this story. I when I saw it, I thought, what? So it's a, and we know the problems that Boeing's had over the past at least a little over the year that I've been on this show, that they had a $55 million jet.
737 MAX.
737,
Yep.
very, very popular jet, was produced in Seattle. And the Chinese came and this is Xiamen Airlines came and picked the jet up, and they flew it out. They got stuck with an estimated 125% tax, or tariff rather, the tariff on it. They turned the plane around, they refueled, and came right back and landed it at Boeing Field. And said, you can have your plane back. We don't.
There's several others waiting completion that were due to go there to China as well. So
tons of planes. It's over 130 planes right now, just bought by China alone. So
something like that could push Boeing under. I mean, the state it's been in.
This is really a company that is it's on the edge. Let's face it. I mean, between doors flying off of planes and that when there was a fire. And I'll go back and I'll backtrack on what I was going to say, because I thought there might be a connection between the fire in Orlando. A plane just caught on fire, and that was taking off and going to Atlanta, a Delta plane. But it turns out it was not. It was an Airbus. It was not a Boeing plane. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Boeing's had a lot of...
Not quite sure what caused that one as yet.
No,
so
neither do I. But.
It was headed for Atlanta, Georgia, left the gate, flames began to rise, forcing people to clear via those jet slides. Can you imagine being on a plane and something like that happens? It's not something you want to think about.
But if I'm correct, the engines caught fire before they even took off, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was just... It was just beginning to taxi, I think.
But they threw, and then they threw the chutes down, and so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure we'll find out more about that. And we'll go to the break shortly, but we did talk about tariffs a little bit. This is my favourite figure on the tariffs. I don't think I've seen a bigger one. US sets tariffs of up to 3,521% on Southeast Asia solar panels. Here you go. That's a tariff.
Not 3,000.
Wow.
Not 4,000. 3,521 on solar panels. These are solar panels that are being produced by the Chinese in other countries like Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam. But this, again, is in response to the allegations of subsidies from the Chinese. So the Chinese are subsidizing these solar panels to be made and be shipped to the U.S. And there are a lot of manufacturers in the U.S. of solar panels. I mean, there are. This is not a business that is exclusively Chinese. There are quite a few American companies that produce solar panels, and they're delighted about this. They're delighted over the fact that, from what I've read, that something is being done to halt the cheaper solar panels to be brought in from Cambodia, et cetera.
Yeah, so, just such a huge, ridiculous figure.
And I don't.
How did they come to it?
I also don't know how much a solar panel costs. I do know that from what we've read in 2023, America imported $12 billion in solar equipment from those four countries. Mm-hmm. But how much a solar panel costs, I guess it varies. But certainly
size,
the ones,
whatever, quality.
But the ones that the Chinese are manufacturing and are behind are a lot cheaper than the American ones.
I wonder whether we'll find out what's on Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's phone now that her bag has been stolen from a D.C. restaurant, including $3,000 in cash. Why is she walking around with $3,000 in cash?
She says she was going to pay for lunch with that.
That's one lunch, one big lunch.
That was a big lunch. That was
best lunch ever.
That's the best lunch ever. I know nobody knows more about sandwiches than I do. But I wonder if they're going to get this back. I mean, you got the whole federal government that's going to be looking for this purse.
Well, they're saying driver's license, medication, apartment keys, passport, DHS access badge, makeup bag, blank checks, around $3,000 in cash. They're not saying phone here. So, okay.
She probably had the phone on her
ear,
on the table, on her ear, on the table, or something. Yeah, on her rear is right. they're out there looking for it. So if you happen to find Kristi Noem's purse, please return it as quickly as possible.
She'd be very happy.
And that's from your Uncle Sammy.
Okay, elsewhere, Donald Trump taking aim at Joe Biden, radical left lunatics, quote unquote, and the courts in his Easter Sunday message. Of course, Biden did speak at last recently, didn't he?
He did
on the administration.
He did, but I don't know how many people are paying attention to what he's saying.
No.
But Trump, if you follow the story, Trump had a very nice Easter greeting for everybody. It said "Happy Easter to all," and everybody who celebrates, and apart from Joe Biden, and who is everybody knows is a very devout Catholic. And Trump was not religious at all, but talking about, hey, he is risen, and so have a happy Easter. Then he couldn't resist, and he sent out a second tweet that said, "Happy Easter to all." I'm not going to read the whole thing, but including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and mentally insane as well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back to our country. Thank you, Mr. President. He just can't help himself from taking a shot at Joe Biden is out of office. He's retired and living in Delaware, and why pick a fight? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, there is a saying, isn't there? You're only relevant if people continue to talk about you. I think.
Well, that's true.
So,
that's very true.
He was caught on a hot mic, wasn't he, Trump, the other day? What was he saying about criminals? Homegrowns are next.
Homegrowns are next, yeah, meaning I'm going to go after anybody who is, I'm going to take people who are native-born Americans, and we're going to put them in a jail in El Salvador.
In the South American country, yeah.
Send it down there. So...
I mean, that's quite a that's quite a good threat to potential criminals, to be honest with you.
Talking about potential criminals,
yes.
Pete Hegseth.
Okay. A second Signal chat leak. It's all that I was seeing on the American news channels this morning. This, will he stay or will he go? Will he jump or will he be pushed? Apparently, the word is that Biden will see it as, Donald Trump will see it as his own failure if he has to sack Hegseth. So he won't go.
And he never admits he's wrong. He's never admitted he was wrong one time. And
Hegseth or Trump.
Right now, that's right. Right now, this story is out of National Public Radio. They're the only source that is reporting this right now.
Yeah, everyone else has picked up on it subsequently. Yeah.
Oh, have they? And so they're saying that they're pulling names out of a hat right now for his successor. And I think anybody who's following the second story, which is that. Again, he was sending out confidential and information on Signal to his wife,
they were on the group
to
chat.
his lawyer, to his brother, and it's completely irrational.
There was another, I don't know if it was the same one or another attack on Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same thing. It was all confidential information, and
airstrikes against Yemen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you're the Trump administration, there's got to be a lot of talk inside the building that
Trump's response yesterday. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Yeah. Well, we're also hearing things inside the Pentagon are very disorganized, that they have never been worse. Morale is bad because Hegseth just is not up to the job. He's not organized, which is kind of the hallmark of Trump.
Trump did say that the source of the story sounds like a disgruntled employee or a disgruntled employee, so he might be right there.
That's right. And the Trump, the Pentagon's got tens of thousands of people working in there, so it could be almost anybody. So we'll see what happens. But I think by the time we're on the air next Tuesday, he will be a former Secretary of Defense.
We'll quote you on that. Okay.
But he barely. We remember. Let's go back a couple of months. He barely squeaked by in his confirmation.
That's true.
So nobody's really surprised. I think everybody would be kind of surprised at how quickly the air left this balloon.
I like that phrase. And I like this phrase as well. International tourism to the U.S. is cratering under Trump. America will pay the price. Wow. Goldman Sachs says reduced travel and boycotts have cost the U.S. almost $90 billion in lost GDP this year alone.
And the big event coming up in 2028 is the Summer Olympics. Mm-hmm. So if you're telling people not to come,
40 years since you.
It's been
LA, wasn't it? 4 decades.
LA 1984. Yeah, and they had a Winter Olympics in 2002 in Salt Lake, but outside of that, it's the amount of money that you need to break even on an Olympic game is sensational, and I think what's happening here is that there's going to have to be a reversal at some point. Otherwise, these Olympics are going to be disastrous.
What do you mean by reversal? In policy or
in reversal? Yeah, in policy and the way they're handling people visiting the country. America's gone from welcoming people into the country
to locking them up.
Lock them up. We don't want you. This, and even Marco Rubio recently was quoted as saying, "Hey, if you're going to come into our country, you've got to adhere to our rules, adhere to everything, and don't be a troublemaker, and you're going to be fine." But there are a lot of nervous people visiting the country right now, and the amount of Canadians who are not coming into the country, because normally there are as many people coming in from Canada as there are Spaniards going into the UK or Frenchmen going into Germany. It's all
cross-border easy.
It's all cross-border stuff. It was very, very easy.
There's a little bit of a boycott going on there from the Canuck friends, isn't there? They're really taken the tariff situation quite hard.
Yeah.
And there have certainly been some rough words spoken. And there was that quote, wasn't there? Trump's even managed to pee off the nicest people on the planet, who are Canadians. Of course, they're going through their own election situation at the moment as well. So
and just so everybody knows, the travel industry generated $1.3 trillion last year, and this had supported 15 million American jobs. So this is big stuff, and it's not something you want to be fooling around with, especially with an election coming up. Believe it or not, in another 4 years.
All right, I think we're going to complete our set today. I managed to get through all of the stories that we lined up for us. It's the first time in a while, isn't it? DHL have suspended high-value U.S. deliveries over tariffs as well. So you can see now the picture that's been building over the last sort of 45 minutes or so is the fact that all of these U.S. companies are suffering.
Well, the one reason I wanted to put this into our lineup today, and you're absolutely right. We started the day with about 45 stories, somewhere around.
Yeah, we did.
About 40, 45 stories, and we culled it down to about 15 or 16. And so we tossed a lot of good stories out. But the reason I wanted to put this DHL one in here is not because DHL is that important a company, but a lot of expats use DHL to ship packages out to the States because, how shall we say, a lot of state-run mail systems are not always dependable. And so companies like Federal Express, DHL, are often a good alternative. But now they're suspending deliveries to the U.S. more than $800, which is 602 euros, because of a significant increase in red tape at customs. So
it costs more to ship it.
It costs more to ship it. So it's like, I think everybody who's listening has probably encountered that customs issue.
Don't go there. Don't go there, because since Brexit, Brits have been talking about pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
You just can't send anything or receive anything anyway.
Well, I tell people back at the States, they want to send
me. We don't bother.
They want to send me something. They go, I've got this little really nice thing I'm going to send. I say, don't send me anything.
No, buy it on local Amazon and send it. That's the way to do it.
Do it that way, or give it to somebody who happens to be coming over.
Indeed, yeah.
I said, but there's a good chance that stuff is going to be hung up in customs. So now, anything more than $800 will not be. You'll not be able to ship it on DHL between Europe and the States.
I mean, the Trump administration has said lots of the shipments from China had illegal substances, including fentanyl.
Yeah,
not sure how true that is.
I don't know how they know that, but I mean, there's probably something. There might be something to some of that, but probably not enough to cause the overreaction that's made them do this right now. So, anyhow,
okay. Last couple of stories then, and the big news on the Colorado funeral home owner. You may remember we talked about this story before.
Yeah, the Colorado. We wanted to get to it last time, but what's happening here is a Colorado funeral home owner has been accused of leaving a woman's corpse in the back of a hearse for over a year.
What?
And then my poor mother. I don't know why that happened. And no, that's a joke. And improperly stashing the cremated remains of 30 other people. And so...
but these keep happening. We've had them in the UK. There was the one we were talking about last year in the States as well, where because I guess there's not any proper rules and regulations on funeral homes. They need better regulation in order to stop these sort of things happening.
But this one company in Colorado was accused of storing 200 bodies in a decrepit building and giving families fake cremated remains. So, anybody out there who has ever gotten remains from one of their loved ones know that you don't really know if those indeed.
If it's a cat,
it could be a cat. It could be a cardboard box. You never really know.
All right, and somebody was banging on about this yesterday as well in the bar. Yeah, Ken is going to be in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling's going to be in.
He's Ken in the Barbie movies,
Ken,
right?
Yeah. He's going to be in a Star Wars film because he needs more money, and it's going to be called Star Wars Starfighter. It comes out in 2027. Which isn't that too far away, and I guess they start shooting.
They're banging them out, these Star Trek series and films, aren't they? Disney, since they took it over.
They are. Well, you got to make some money.
And of course, George Lucas, I'm sure, is still making a buck every single time something gets sold from Star. That was the thing, wasn't it? Like even down to the dolls and the merchandise, everything that was being sold, he got a cut from, didn't he?
Yeah. And so anybody who likes Ryan Gosling and likes Star Wars, you're going to love this.
Or Deadpool and Wolverine, because it's Sean Levy, the
Same
director,
guy.
who's going to be taking charge.
And you know what? Anybody who's seen those Deadpool movies, he's got a really nice touch. They're all kind of fun to watch. So I have something to look forward to.
Excellent. Many thanks indeed. Our US correspondent Rich Reynolds. We completed the set for the first time in weeks.
Couldn't believe it.
In fact, for the first time since the election, I think.
I know.
Wow. Excellent.
Good job.
All right. Talk to you again next week. Cheers.
All right, boss.